All right, y'all. Get ready for a mad video here. This is just going to be me ranting because this is an awful loss and we got to talk about it. But welcome back to the TheSlamDuncan YouTube channel. I know it's been a little bit, had a rough week at school. It's all done now. But this is inexcusable. I am not happy at all right now, as you could probably tell. Looked at my Twitter. I'm furious. But this can't happen. This is literally inexcusable. Now, I understand that this happens. You know, I've seen the great teams. You know, they happen to lose these games sometimes. We've seen it all. I mean, hell, we got the Wizards. They lost to the New Orleans Pelicans tonight by by 20 plus. The Miami Heat lost to the Minnesota Timberwolves tonight by double digits. So, you know, maybe it's one of those nights in the NBA. But this just cannot happen. The Chicago Bulls lost to the worst team in the NBA tonight. And this is something that we saw last year, and we're like, this cannot happen this year. And so far through this season, the Bulls have done well with this. You know, we faced some easy teams early on. We beat those early teams. We faced, you know, it was the Pelicans, the Pistons, and the Raptors without Siakam, right? We beat those teams. So it's like, okay, maybe those days of playing down to competition are over. But tonight, we saw that the Bulls not only played down to competition, but they were worse than their competition. And their competition happened to be the worst team in the NBA. This is inexcusable. And I understand that a lot of people are like calling out individual players or calling out the entire, all the players, all 15 guys, whatever, yada, yada, yada. Look, yeah, every single player you're calling out tonight, or the entire, or all 15 guys you want to call out, sure, go ahead and call that out. But look, man, we have to put some blame on Billy Donovan tonight and the coaching staff. There is no excuse for this to happen when you're supposed to be one of the top coaches in the league. Now, I'm going to go full screen for this with my face here. I usually don't do this. Let me be clear with something here. I think Billy Donovan is a great coach. I think Billy Donovan is the right coach for this team. But this is something in Billy Donovan's career that has happened a lot. This happened a lot in Oklahoma City, unfortunately. I mean, I remember when that big three with Paul George, Russell Westbrook, Carmelo Anthony got put together. And if I'm remembering correctly, they just could not beat the Minnesota Timberwolves that year for whatever reason. And that Minnesota Timberwolves team was not good. Like, for some odd reason, they were 0-4 against that Minnesota Timberwolves team. So I'm just saying that this has happened before with Billy Donovan's career, when he has a really good team around him, but for some odd reason, they just play down to the competition. And look, like I said earlier, I praise Billy Donovan a lot on this channel, but this game specifically, like, we just can't just go by with this game and be like, Billy Donovan doesn't deserve any hate here. No, he deserves a lot of the blame tonight. And what happened tonight is inexcusable by him, because it was very evident that the players did not know who were the shooters and who weren't the shooters, who to close out hard on, who not to close out hard on at all. Who do we need to watch for as good ball handlers that can drive to the rim, and who are the guys that are just the spot-up three-point shooters? I mean, for God's sake, we saw Daniel House get so many wide-open threes tonight, and he killed it from three-point range tonight. Maybe he doesn't do that every single night, but you have to understand that Daniel House is a great three-point shooter, but he's good off the catch and shoot only. And for some odd reason, the Bulls did not want to guard him tonight from the three-point line. Don't know why, but it was very evident that the coaches did not make it aware to the players of who were the shooters and who weren't the shooters. They just did not prepare the players at all for this game. And that can't happen at all. So we need to actually have a discussion about Billy Donovan and this specific issue, because I always think Billy Donovan, when it's like playoff time, when it's against a really good team, he comes ready. He's ready. But this is a game right here that shows that, like, he clearly wasn't ready tonight. And it showed with the players as well that they weren't ready at all. So I want to talk about just the start of this game and how bad it was. I understand the Bulls, if I'm remembering correctly, it was tied after the first quarter. And look, yeah, the Bulls were, you know, it wasn't like they were down. But automatically, I was just like, this is not going good. Because right off the bat, I'm like, the Bulls should at least have a decent lead after the first quarter. And after that, it should be easy. That didn't happen. Now, I will say the second quarter, I thought it was a great quarter. I know the Rockets, you know, it was only a 7-point difference in that quarter. It probably should have been more. But I thought that was actually a very good quarter by the Bulls. Sure, you wish the lead was bigger by halftime, but that second quarter I thought was the only good quarter by the Bulls today. And the main thing that I have to keep saying, it's like, that offense in that first half overall, for both quarters, I thought the offense was fantastic. 64 points at the end of the first half, you take that any day. Oh my God, that's incredible. And I thought the Bulls were getting everything they wanted offensively. But defensively, in that first quarter, was not good. The defense was better in that second quarter, but defense in that first quarter was not good. And the main thing that the Bulls were at least doing well, even though they didn't do a lot of good things in that first half, was they at least weren't turning the ball over. And that was good to see, because at the end of the day, against this Rockets team that wants to play fast, that plays small, you have to control the ball. Because if you turn it over, they run out, they're young, they're athletic, they shoot threes, and look what happened tonight. In the third quarter, the Bulls started turning the ball over. They turned it over a lot, and the Rockets got out, got transition points, shot a lot of threes, made their threes. That's what happens. And I'm like, what happened? You at the very least, you just can't turn the ball over against this Rockets team, and that's exactly what they did in the third quarter. That was awful to see. And we saw in the fourth quarter that the defense then finally picked up, and it seemed to, like, all of a sudden, like, the coach was like, hey, you got to guard this guy. I'm like, yeah, you should have been guarding him from the start. I mean, it seemed like we didn't do our homework on Kevin Porter Jr. I know this is his game back from injury or whatever he had, but, man, you got to understand who are the main guys against this Rockets team. This Rockets team is young. They have a bunch of 19-year-olds on this team, but you have to understand who are the guys that we have to guard and who are the guys that we can try to dare them to beat us or dare them to shoot from three-point range. And it was very evident that we had no idea who was the main guy and who was the guy that should be that we should be forcing to take the shot. It was just awful to see tonight, and inexcusable from not just the players but also the coaching staff. And I also want to point out one more thing here with Billy Donovan. I praise Billy Donovan, but I mostly praise him for his defense. His offense, I will say, though, has not been exactly what I want to see. But this was a game tonight where I'm like, you have to play through the post. There is no excuse for not playing in the post. This is a game you have to play in the post. Why? This is a Rockets team that's young, doesn't understand defensive rotations, and you have three guys, three all-stars, who play very well in the post and can draw double teams. And if they draw that double team, you got Lonzo, you got Caruso, who's back now. You got a bunch of now guys that are kind of, now they're like more the catch and shoot guys because now Vucevic is back, that you can trust to just be a cutter or a catch and shoot guy. And they can be wide open from a post-up play. But we did not see a single post-up play tonight except for one play that was a down fist action that got Vucevic a post-up look in on the right block in the first half, and he missed it. But you should have had a post-up. You should have had a post-up game tonight, or post-up game plan tonight. The Rockets play small, and a guy that takes advantage of smaller guys is DeMar DeRozan, who has done it his entire career. And in a game where, yes, you're a team that wants to play fast, but you want to play fast off your defense. You do not want to play faster within your offense at all, right, if you're the Chicago Bulls. Because if you do, you take a quick shot, or you go too fast, commit a turnover, the Rockets are out and running. That's what the Rockets want. They want to run. And if you post up, it slows down your offense. It doesn't make you take those quick shots. And I'm going nuts in this game because I'm like, this should be simple. You throw it down to the post. You have Vucevic back, who had to play more minutes than wanted tonight. You have DeMar DeRozan, who is one of the premier post-up players in this league. And Zach LaVine clearly has a post-up game now, as we saw from not just this year, but he had it like 2 years ago. We just haven't used it at all. But for some odd reason, Donovan is just so big on having to run this specific offense that's very handoff-oriented, perimeter-oriented only, and keeping Vucevic at the top of the key. I think Vucevic at the top of the key is very effective, and he should absolutely be there for a good amount of offense, but he also is incredibly effective in the post. And under Donovan, you see that the post-up has just never been like a premier option with him. It just has never been that way with for all the teams that he's coached. So I'm just going insane, though, because this is a team that you can definitely post up on, and you have three guys that can definitely do the job. I'm not happy at all by what I saw today. And offensively, it was just an absolute, I thought it was good in the first half, but then, man, in the second half, I was going insane. Boy. Moving forward from here, the Bulls need to beat the Magic. and it's not going to be easy because the Bulls, for some odd reason, against bigger teams have issues. We just saw against the Pacers and in that game where they play basically two centers. Wendell Carter Jr. is playing power forward on that Magic team now, and I believe Obama is starting at center. I don't 100% know, but the Magic play big. They're bigger than the Bulls lineup. I thought Javonte Green going to the starting lineup with Vucevic back is totally fine, but if the energy is going to be that low to start the game, then I want Caruso back in that starting lineup. But either way, if you have Caruso or Green, whoever is going to be playing that fifth starter role, the Bulls are going to be outsized against this Orlando Magic team. And while the Bulls are obviously very clearly better than this Magic team, as we see against the Rockets tonight, that any team can beat you in the NBA. You have to come out and absolutely play good basketball. If you do not, then this is what happens. So, man, I hope the coaching staff understands that we're probably going to be outsized, and running this small lineup isn't going to work unless you absolutely are 100% sure that it's going to affect Mo Bamba out there. But this is another thing about this game, man. I was not happy with what the lineups that Donovan ran out there. So for this Magic game, you have to run the right guys. Because I'm going to say this right now, I don't understand sometimes what Donovan does, and look, I'm not a coach, but tonight we ran Javonte Green a lot at the center position. Derrick Jones Jr., if you look right here, Derrick Jones Jr. got 11 minutes tonight. Now, look, he seemed to be nursing a hand issue. This was not reported, though. Maybe it was. I missed it. But from what I saw, from what I read from Casey Johnson, all the pregame reports, I did not see Derrick Jones Jr. having an issue or anything on the injury report. Now, as I'm filming this, maybe something got released. I do not know. But I'm like, Derrick Jones Jr. played fantastic at center while Vucevic was out. He was your main go-to center guy off the bench. And the Bulls, or Donovan tonight, was just like, yeah, we're not going to run that much of Derrick Jones Jr. at center tonight. He got 11 minutes. He wasn't really in foul trouble. And he barely used him. And we used Javonte Green at center a lot. And so that lineup of, going basically 6'4", 6'5", Javonte Green at center, I just think it plays right into the Rockets' hands. I think going small just helps the Rockets because the Rockets want to play small. Like Christian Wood, I know he's pretty big, but he's a pretty mobile dude. Like he can actually run the floor really well, and you saw the Rockets that they're willing to switch Christian Wood onto anybody. Like they will switch them onto Zach, and they're willing to do that. So I just feel like if you're gonna go small, it better be the right guy out there, and I think you better throw Derrick Jones Jr. out there because I think he's a better rebounder and better interior defender than Javonte Green. And look, I'm not saying Javonte Green played bad tonight. I think he actually played very well, but you have to run that lineup if you're going to go small with Derrick Jones Jr. And Vucevic fouled out, and we went to Javonte Green and closed the game. I don't understand that decision at all, and I hope Donovan learned from his mistakes today. But that was, I thought, inexcusable tonight. That we decided not to play Derrick Jones Jr. that much, and we played Javonte Green as our backup center. And Tony Bradley saw less than 2 minutes on the floor tonight, which also didn't make sense because the Bulls were giving up so many points in the paint tonight. So there was a lot that I'm very confused by. A lot of decisions by Donovan tonight that I was like, what is happening? But at the end of the day, we do have to look at the leaders of this team, which is Levine, DeRozan, Vucevic, and Ball. These guys, I think Lonzo came out totally, he did his job, but I don't think he played very well at all in the second half. I thought he was pretty awful in that second half, as was the entire team. I thought Zach, he came out all right, but then third quarter he didn't play very well. In the fourth, I thought he was literally the only offense. So, at least he showed up there. DeRozan did not have it all tonight, and this is what I'm saying with DeRozan. I did not think his hot start was going to last, so the Bulls can't rely so much on DeRozan from here on out. And that's the reason why Vucevic is here, right? But Vucevic did not have a shot tonight, but, this is his first game back from COVID. So I understand that, all four of those guys, they're not big vocal leaders, but at the end of the day, someone has to be that emotional leader. Like, think Draymond Green with the Warriors. Like, the dude is not an all NBA caliber player. He's not going to be scoring all the points, right? But he's that emotional leader. He's the guy. He's the guy that brings the intensity every single game. Now, as I'm recording this, though, Golden State, as you can see, is also losing to Philadelphia, and they were probably having one of the worst first halves ever in the season. So maybe it's just a weird night in the NBA, but you need to have that emotional leader, and maybe it's Alex Caruso that can be that guy, but there has to be that emotional leader to get the guys understanding, like, you need to bring the intensity, and there was no intensity brought tonight on the defensive end until the fourth quarter. And so I'm looking at those four guys saying, hey, who's going to be that guy? Because, we understand that this team can score, and I understand that this team has had issues scoring, but with Levine, DeRozan, and Vucevic, they're going to score. Those guys are going to score at least. So how can you get the other guys to and the main leaders to defend at a high level, but then also have the other guys that maybe, the role players that just don't score that often, or clearly don't have it that night and just can't get their shot going? How can you get those guys to play with the intensity on the offensive end, to not turn the ball over, to cut with intensity, to drive hard to the rim, and not think about your decisions, because that's what leads to turnovers? So there's a lot going on here, and Kendall Gill said it on the postgame show. The Magic game is a must-win, and I agree with it. The Magic is a must-win game. This is 100% a must-win game. The Pacers game, look, I understand that loss, and I honestly, I'm like, this is 100% going to be a loss against the Pacers. I was already saying it. We had a tough game against the Knicks, second game of back-to-back off a West Coast road trip. I knew the Pacers game was a loss. That was fine. But this right here, this is an inexcusable loss. The Bulls' schedule does not get any easier. Yeah, I'm just saying it right now. And I say that not in terms of competition, but in terms of the scheduling of games. The Bulls are basically playing one game every other day, or it's a back-to-back. You do not get rest. I don't know what is up with the NBA with that, but that's how they're doing it right now. So for these specific types of games, like a game against the Houston Rockets, you got to come out and put this team away early so you can get your rest at the end of the game. That did not happen tonight. Bulls weren't able to rest. As you see, everyone in the starting lineup, basically the main guys, played 36 minutes or more, except for Vucevic, who's back from COVID. So this is inexcusable, and so this Magic game, you better come out. You better play hard. You better play right. The coaching staff better be ready, and you better put this team away early. Yeah. It's just as simple as that. Because then you got to face the Miami Heat, then second day of a back-to-back. And we all know with Miami Heat, it's never easy against them. I guess except for tonight, because they lost to the Timberwolves. So, horrible loss. I apologize for this horrible video that I just made. But, at the end of the day, this is what has to be said. This is a horrible, horrible loss. One last thought as I go here. A lot of people are saying, like, wow, this Bulls team's a fraud or whatever. Like, look, I have never said that this Bulls team's a contender. I still stand by that. I never said it that the Bulls were a contender. They were never a contender in my opinion. I said that they should be a really good playoff team, though. They should definitely make the playoffs. They shouldn't be, I don't think at this point they should be thinking about like a, play-in tournament, issue, right? They should be 6 seed or higher. But I don't think they should be higher than the 4 seed. I don't think they're a contender at all. They can definitely get past the first round of the playoffs. But to all those people that are saying, like, wow, look, the Bulls aren't contenders. Yeah, they're not. I've never said that they were contenders. And the whole fraud thing, whatever. That's up to you. But I think that's up to your expectations. And I think, with this Bulls team, a lot of Bulls fans were like, wow, look, we're one of the best teams in the NBA. I don't agree with that. I really honestly don't think we're a top 5 team. I would almost argue we're not a top 8 team, but we should be, 9th, 10th, from there. So this loss, I think, just basically shows you that this is not a contender and has never been. Unless some trade happens that AKN wants to do, that brings in a borderline all-star somehow to this team, then they're a contender. But right now, this team's not a contender. So I just want to put that out there, and just make it clear that I've never said this team was a contender. So, horrible loss. and just hope that this Bulls team comes out playing right against Orlando Magic. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.